There was nothing in criminal records or in our holdings that indicated that this person was previously known to us or would have popped on our radar or MPD's radar. We know that he originated outside of the district, came in for a conference on May 20th, and was a resident in the Chicagoland area. That's what we know about him currently. As far as associates, relatives, the reason we're checking associates and relatives is to put all the pieces together. There's a lot of unknowns, so known contacts, known relatives, known associates. These are basic investigative steps to put a picture, composite picture together of who the subject is, what did people know about him, and who was he closest to. From that, we'll build out the investigation. Aside from that, I couldn't answer more.
Go ahead.
Hi. A quick question. I'm sorry, Keith Alexander, Washington Post. Were you seeking the death penalty? Can you talk a little bit about that? And also, the night of May 20th, any idea where he stayed at all?
I think that we have an idea of that, but let me just say that, the president and the attorney general have both indicated that, in cases where the death penalty is warranted and seems appropriate, we will use it. It's far too early to say whether that is the case, but this is a death penalty eligible case.
And what about the night of May 20th?
Do you want to talk about that, Chief?
No, I think it's still a part of the investigation.
Definitely still part of the investigation.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the weeds. I think that right now he's been arraigned. He's been presented. Excuse me.
It's in progress.
It's in progress. Okay. Yes, sir.
Can you just, Mr. Johnson, can you just clarify one thing you said? You said he was in town for a conference. Was that a different conference than the one, than the event? And could you tell us more about what that particular event is and another?
So we're still looking into the nature of the conference, we believe associated with his work, and we are contacting his employer and trying to figure out what the nature of his job was. We believe the reason for his flight was related to a conference for his work.
What's the nature of that work?
I don't have it at the top of my head.
And then the other question is, he seems to have been sort of stalking, I forgot what the word was, pacing in front of this event. And he seems to have had pretty easy egress in and out of the place. What does that say about the level of security, and are you investigating that for, and Mayor Bowser, are you considering increasing security around these sorts of events and institutions?
So regarding the movements of the subject, obviously still very much a part of the investigation, composite of collected videos, witness statements to put a full picture together before I would comment on any one particular act that he may or may not have been observed doing. As far as security goes for a private entity, I wouldn't comment on that. And as far as posture goes, I would defer to the mayor.
I think that the director is correct. This was not a event that falls into our special events category, where MPD and other government agencies have a stood-up posture. This was a relatively small event at a museum, so MPD or the government agencies wouldn't stand up additional resources unless they were requested or unless we got a call for service. More than that, I will say that we have had a local program and a federal program that have helped institutions, faith institutions, and others who have been concerned about violence, anti-Semitism, or other hateful speech and rhetoric. And very recently, we have issued grants, and we have issued grants over the last several years to those institutions to harden their security, add cameras, add additional security, and I believe that the museum has done some of those things.
I'm going to sneak one last thing in.
All right, I just want to follow up with this. We've been advised that the defendant has appeared in court. He's had an attorney appointed. He's been advised by the judge that he could be punished by death or by life. And, of course, we sought detention. The defendant waived his right to a detention hearing and concedes to detention. And right now a preliminary hearing is set for June 18th at 1 o'clock. So it is done.
One clarification, Mr. Henson. You are not ruling out that this manifesto might have been written by this gentleman, right?
We don't know.
We don't know, and that's still very much a part of the investigation.
Sorry.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.